Yo, what's going on guys? If you're looking for the solo raid guide, you're in the right place because today we're gonna be going over the solo raid for Hologram Kraken. Now, there's gonna be three parts to this video. First, I'm gonna go over the boss moves, what to do and what not to do. Then, we're gonna go over some of the teams and some replacement for characters that you may or may not have. And lastly, right at the end, I'll include my one and done run. So stick around and let's get into it. First, it begins kind of like the regular interception Kraken. So what you will have is these little tentacles in the back and the big tentacles in the front. And so what you want to do, at first it begins in the same way right here, you just destroy them. It is not all that important to destroy the ones in the back, but they do shoot these lasers that will damage you. But where it differs is these front tentacles, they start doing this and they do a little different pattern and they immediately start doing damage to your team. So it's important to destroy them as quick as you can. And then so right here you can see the lasers are shooting, so that will hurt you. And then we go into the QTE, so I'm gonna cover, look, and then I'm shooting them with wind, so it doesn't work because these are actually, they require you to shoot them with a water code ally. So every team has to have at least one water unit. And if you miss the QTE, you get damaged quite a bit, and the QTE is recurrent over and over throughout the battle, so you can't really not have a water unit on your team. So here is the other type of missile which can be destroyed, but you can just ignore these because they don't do that much damage. But if you want to avoid damage, or maybe you don't have a healer on the team, they are able to be destroyed by just hitting them with anything. And so these tentacles in the front, you want to destroy them before they start doing that erratic stuff, because it's easier to destroy them that way. Because once they start like flailing and all that, it's kind of hard to shoot them like this, right? Kind of hard to follow the core in the tentacle. You also have this right here. This is almost the same timing as the interception one, and so you just gotta cover through that. If you don't cover, your entire team will be stunned for a couple of seconds. Right here, you get stunned if you don't cover. So that's that, and then it goes into the QTE right here. Now this QTE does not require water code, so everybody can shoot it, and it's a little different. It's only 9 circles in the middle that you just gotta shoot them. And then it goes back into the same thing basically. Now you have 2 of them, you gotta destroy 2 of them, like this, right? And they both start doing that flaily stuff, you didn't shoot them in time. And then you get another QTE with water code allies right here, boom, 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 4. And then you get these missiles that cannot be avoided, so you just tank them, or you can cover it if you need to avoid damage. So you just try to shoot these tentacles whenever you can. And then attack the core right here as much as you can. Pretty standard. So now for the teams for Kraken, you want to have a water code ally on each team. So that's very important because of those QTEs. So here, for example, this is gonna be probably the strongest team for this boss. So you have Little Mermaid, you have Crown, Ludmilla, Helm, and Alec, right? But you can replace, for example, Helm here with another DPS, for example, like Rappi. You could put Rappi here. You don't need all of the allies to be water code, right? So you put another highly damaging DPS on the team. And Alec is kind of a on-burst, off-burst, kind of alternating character. So you'll be switching out the ult probably from your weaker DPS here. And then you can use, for example, here Helm on another team, right, that needs more healing. Then for the next team, we get the shotgun team. This is the team that most likely you will have the new Dorothy in, right, the shotgun Dorothy, B3 Dorothy. So you'll put her on a shotgun team. You have Taupe here, Leona, you have Bunny Soda, Dorothy, and Drake. Another thing you can do here, for example, is replace Drake, replace Leona, and put in, for example, Naga here and and Tia, for example, right? This provides healing. The other team did not have a lot of healing, so in this team you will have healing. Another thing that you could do is obviously do the bunnies. You could put Blanc here and Noir right here. So this also has a lot of healing. It's a little weaker than the first team, but maybe you need that survivability in here, so that could be fine as well. Now the other option is you could put Rouge here, right here in the middle of the two DPSs, and Blanc will heal here as well. Now another replacement that you could do here is put Grave here instead of a different B2, right? And then you can replace Rouge with another B1 maybe, or another DPS or something like that. So you can put here maybe D, right? Because we're looking for that pierce damage, right? Because Dorothy has pierce damage in her kit, so we might do something like this, for example, or just put Drake here on the team, right? Something like that. So there's quite a bit of options for shotgun replacements in this solo raid, so you can kind of just choose what works best for you. So we got that out of the way. Now for the third team here, I have the duo mates with Asuka and with Quincy and Dorothy, B1 Dorothy. This team is also kind of flexible right here. You can replace both of these units. For example, you can put in maybe your SBS is well built. You put Alice with SBS, or you put maybe SBS with Asuka, right? You could also use Mana in this team. You could also replace the B1 with a different B1, right? Obviously you got someone like Leader here that would work. Maybe D, although doesn't really synergize perfectly with this team, she would work here. And here you could also replace either of these if you have any of the water DPS like Phantom, Guillotine, Winter, right? You got Emilia here, not too bad. You got Quincy, very good DPS. You could pull out the Privity here. Usually she's used as an off-burst character, but even if you want to use her on burst, it's not too bad. And so you just kind of plug and play in this team what works best and what deals the most damage for you, depending on your builds, right? And then for the third team, what I got going on here is the dot team, right? So here I'm using Helm. Like I said in the first team, I replaced Helm here with Rapi. I'm using Helm here for healing as well. And I got the two dot DPSs. I got a Raven and Mihara here. And I'm using a Rosanna to buff those dots with Leader. Leader is pretty important in this team because of the attack buff. That benefits these units right here very much. So if you can, you want to be using Leader if you're using a dot team. Now also if you have Brady would probably be better replacement than one of these units right here. I don't have Brady, so I'm not using her, but if you do have Brady, you could replace one of these, right? Replace the weaker of the two, or you could even put Brady here and run a triple dot team with no healer, right? It's a little tough with no healer, but it can be done. So, and then for the third team we got the Electro team, and you need obviously a water unit here. So I'm using Bunny Alice here because she helps with healing, and this team has a little bit of a problem with breaking the tentacles in time, so you take quite a bit of damage. So Bunny Alice is quite welcome here, right? Another unit you could use is maybe Mary, but Mary, if you need healing, she would have to burst instead of Rouge, right? The good thing about Bunny Alice is that she re-enters burst 1, so that I can burst with Alice and then burst with Rouge in the same rotation. That way Rouge bursts every single time to buff everybody in the team. Now another thing you could use here if you have her is Treasure Viper. Treasure Viper will re-enter second burst, so you still need to run Marie or another B2 here, so that will work as well. Also, maybe you do not have a summer anise, so you can run a Red Hood here as well. Red Hood will do more damage than summer anise generally, but Cinderella is gonna drop a little damage because Summer Anise is not here. However, the overall team damage is about the same. So Red Hood will work here quite well. Or another thing you could do is run a Winter Maiden here, which also would synergize. For example, if you do not want to run Alice, maybe you could run Ram. Ram kind of buffs the rocket launcher users, right? So you might want to burst with Ram if your Ram is very good. That way you can replace Marie and put in another B2 here, or you know, a B3 or something like that. Or for example, you could even do a Bunny Alice with Rouge and with Ram, and then you get quite a bit more healing here, as well as Ram buffing rocket launcher users. Both Maiden and Cinderella would be getting buffed by Ram, which is quite nice. So that's about it for the teams. You can kind of pick and choose. Now another thing I kind of forget to mention here is, for example, if you do not have Summer Rosanna here, you could use a Crust, right? Crust instead of Summer Rosanna. So here you could use Crust with these dot characters instead of Summer Rosanna, but Crust is a little weaker than hers, so it's something to consider. And also another thing to consider is that Summer Rosanna as well as Raven have damage to parts buffs, so this makes it easier to destroy the tentacles quick. So you might not need a healer with Summer Rosanna and with Raven, but if you replace one or both of them, you might need a healer then, right? So that is also something to consider when you're picking the team here. However, that's pretty much it for the teams. Please like, comment, and subscribe if I helped you out or if you liked the video. And now let's take a look at my one and done run.